Okay. Hey guys, and welcome to my TryHackMe stream. Um, so basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing all of my TryHackMe learning live. So anybody who's learning cybersecurity with me, you can follow along. We can have a discussion, or you can help me out, whatnot. So that is the idea of this stream, um, more or less. But then before we get into it, I think we should also just take a look at what I'm going to be beginning with. So yeah, in TryHackMe, of course, there are a lot of lessons and there are a lot of modules, but I will be beginning with um, the complete beginner path. So these paths essentially are like basically like a series of modules that are set in a specific order so that there is a logical flow. You go from one to another and you pick up more skills instead of doing arbitrarily whatever comes first. So, to be more specific, let's just take a look at the learning paths. So, the idea right now is I start with complete beginner, then we'll move to web fundamentals just to cover what are the industry tools and like whatnot. And then I'll move to cyber defense and then maybe offensive pen testing. And then we'll go to CompTIA pen test. So, at least that is the idea for the time being. Essentially, by doing complete beginner web fundamentals and cyber defense, and practicing a few of the compete options, and then like trying a few networks, I should probably be in a good posture to do security plus and get the practical experience necessary for it. Thereafter, we'll see what we can do. So, again, in complete beginner, we have 64 hours worth of work. Although, full disclosure, I've already done a little bit of it. But I'm going to be starting over because in between there was a big break, and then I don't want to be jumping back into the thick of it. I want to take it from the start again. So 8 tasks and 31 different rooms. 8 tasks being the 8 tests, and once we finish this, we'll get the certificate of completion, which is what we're going for right now. So yeah, I'll just log in really quick, and then we can begin. Mm, and there we go. Right. So I'm done with like 72% of the complete beginner path, but this was earlier. So yeah, I'm thinking if it's even if I jump back in at 72% and I don't pick up on the stuff that I did earlier because I'm jumping back in after like a 2 month break. So this would not be fun. So yeah, let's get into the thick of it. In this learning path, of course, we're going to be starting from the complete beginner introduction, and then we go into Linux fundamentals, and then we go into networking fundamentals, and then web hacking fundamentals. You can see that I've done a lot of these. Although these specific ones that I've not done, they've been added over the course of these 2 months that I wasn't doing this. So I'm going to start afresh. I'm going to start it from the beginning. I'm going to take it from the beginning, and then I'll probably get in like because see I've already done these, so I know the things that are required to finish those tasks. We can probably do a discussion. We can see what are other methods and whatnot. So that is the idea at least. um so yeah, I didn't get all the way till shells and privilege escalation. This is where I stopped 2 months ago. So I'm going to be getting back into it now. So I'm going to take it from the top, and each room has individual reset option. So in each room we'll go in, we'll reset the progress, and then we'll go through it. If it's a fresh room, then voila, we don't have to do anything. So yeah, let's begin today with complete beginner introduction. I'll probably do it for like 1 hour, 1.5 hour today, how much ever we can. And thereafter, depending on the first room that I complete, I mean after 1.5 hour, I'll pause the stream. So yeah, that is the idea. Now this tutorial though, I think it is more TryHackMe specific more than anything. It is about how to like get your TryHackMe stuff correct, and like how to launch stuff and whatnot. So yeah, if you are a TryHackMe premium subscriber, you don't have to worry about like when you press access machines, you get options: attack box or an open VPN. Open VPN is when you want to use your own PC and then like connect to this thing, the TryHackMe network via VPN, and then like do your stuff. But then also, like, first of all, you'll have to be setting up a lot of the things on your own end, and especially if you're not on like a Linux environment, if you're on a Windows environment, this is very hard. And there is also an option of attack box, which is TryHackMe's own Linux machine. It gets deployed in the browser itself, native. So that is also a good option. But then at the same time, if you're a free subscriber, uh, you're going to have it time limited. You're going to only have like 1 hour a day. But if you have the premium subscription, you can also get a Kali Linux default installation web machine as well. So even if you're on Windows or on Mac or on whatnot, you don't have to worry about like having the necessary tools. You should be fine like this. Um, so yeah, might as well just go through this as well. Uh, let's take reset progress, and yep, there we go. The progress has been reset completely. So yeah, task one is starting our first machine, and this should be pretty easy. So yeah, again, on TryHackMe, you'll learn by starting and hacking machines. And there is a web-based attack machine called the attack box, which is given by TryHackMe. It has all the necessary tools you need to finish that specific task. So yeah, that should be really easy. For the time being, let's start the attack box. So when you press start attack box, this is what happens. Basically, it shows starting your machine, please wait, and then you get a pop-up. There you go. It usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to set up. If it's the attack box, it takes around 120 seconds. If it is the Kali Linux machine, it takes more or less about 90 seconds. So yeah, depending on that. Let's go over the task while this thing is still loading. Um, Click the blue start attack box. The attack box is what you will use. Second one is start the target machine shown on this task and wait 1 to 2 minutes for it to configure. Thereafter, each task, basically, when you press start machine, each task could have its own machine. You can connect to it from the attack box or from the VPN. So, this task's machine is getting spawned now. It has the necessary files required for this task, task one. And once it is spawned, you have a 2 hour time limit, and you can add more hours if you're a premium subscriber. And it will also show you the IP address once it is ready. You can just copy it and you can just paste it here. So yeah, that is the idea. So copy the IP address of the machine, then on the attack box, which is the right hand side, open up Firefox and paste the IP address into the URL bar. And once we go in there, we'll get our flag, which is required to finish this. So yeah, what is a flag? A flag is nothing but a piece of text. Basically, it's a unique piece of text. It proves that you've performed this task or you finished the like necessary steps required for it. So yeah, alternatively, we can do it via OpenVPN, which I was mentioning earlier. You have to use your own computer, and then you have to get on, and then you have to log into a TryHackMe network, set up OpenVPN, set up the necessary keys for it. And then once you set it up as well, all the tools that you need, you'll have to provision on your own. And here we go. Here comes our machine. This is a TryHackMe machine, the attack box. Mm, Now, obviously, again, there are a few rules we have to keep in mind. Pen testing any target that is not deployed by us is prohibited. We are solely responsible for our actions. This machine expires after, at the bottom right, we can see the timer, 1 hour 57 minutes. And once this machine is terminated, all the data is lost. So basically, every time you press start machine, you're going to get a fresh attack box. There's no carryover of memory or anything. It gets freshly spawned, it gets freshly reinstalled and redone. So yeah, anything you're saving, anything you're storing in like the attack box or the Kali Linux machine provided by TryHackMe is not going to stay. So yeah, if you have any data that you want to save, or if you have any data that is sensitive to another task that you think, then you either extend the timer and finish the task then and there, or you put it on like file.io or some ephemeral file sharing site and then take it out from there. And also, don't use your personal details on these virtual machines, on the attack box or the Kali Linux machine over here. Of course, it is going to get completely deleted, but at the same time, you don't want to risk it, because the TryHackMe network is like it's full of people. Like there's so many people who are on this virtual network, so it is not ideal to be using your personal details there. So yeah, again, the tools are located in this folder on the desktop. Tools, I think you can see it here. Yep, right here. Web shells are also located, and then there are word lists as well. And if you want to use specific tools like Empire and Star Killer, then we'll have to follow the instructions. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And this machine is also ready, the task machine. We copy this to the clipboard, and then we go to the browser. This is basically step 3 what we're doing. And we control V, or we paste. So again, now this is another problem. Sometimes what happens is the outside clipboard contents are not copied directly in here, especially with the attack box. With the Kali Linux machine, it works, but with the attack box, it doesn't. So basically, you can manually access the clipboard of this web uh, tool, this attack box, and then you can paste it there. And now that we fill the clipboard, if we just press V, there we go, Control V, and we see that. Now let's just visit. There we go. You can access TryHackMe machines, and this is the flag. This proves that we've accessed. We've basically done all the 3 steps. And to finish this problem, we basically have to type in this exact flag here. So let's go ahead and do that. Connection verified. And if we submit, there we go. That's the room. That's it. So once we're done with the machine, what we do is we basically close off everything that we don't need, and then we press terminate machine, and automatically the machine is shut down, all the data is erased, and so on. And also, whenever we're done with the task, we immediately have to remember to close the machine. Let's not leave it up, because it's going to be using resources that could be useful for other people who are also doing the task right now. So we just press terminate, and we're done with this room completely. And a little like that, right? And now let's just press back, and let's go back to the path. The next room I think we're going to be doing is starting out in CyberSec. I think this is one where we can actually have like a good discussion. And also, let me just go ahead and reset the progress really quick. There we go. So basically, in this room, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be learning what is in cybersecurity, what can we expect, what are the paths, what are the things you can do, what are the disciplines, whatnot. This is more like a high level overview of all the career paths, uh, which is, I think, what most people are looking for. So it makes sense to have a dedicated room for it at the start. And I don't think we'll be doing any attack box start or something like that. So yeah, welcome to TryHackMe. This room will give you a brief overview of the different career paths in cybersecurity. If you already have a basic idea, search the activities page for different walkthroughs and challenges. This is basically telling that if you already know this, you can skip it, but we'll go through it nevertheless. So we've done reading this and we press continue, and this is the task done. Now, in cybersecurity, the first large area being offensive side. Now, obviously, again, in cybersecurity or in anything for that matter, you're going to be having people who are going to be attacking it, who are going to be trying to exploit it, and at the same time, you're going to be having people who are defending it. Now, attackers in cybersecurity more or less are always like hackers, or like, people with like malicious intent, or people who are officially recognized as attackers and they're trying to find holes or gaps in a network. So yeah, all of these like attacking process where you're trying to actively like break open something or break open the security of any cyber related element, it falls under offensive security. It's just the blanket word for it. Now, of course, again, we basically, like this says, it involves attacking different applications and technologies, and the aim is to discover vulnerabilities, at least on the legal side speaking. Now, people like black hat hackers or gray hat hackers, they don't exactly do this to discover vulnerabilities. This is just one element for them. They exploit vulnerabilities and then they use it for their own gain. So of course we're trying to be legal, we're trying to be making good use of all this knowledge. So this career, again, it is, if you're watching this and you're thinking, should I take the offensive or should I take the defensive path, again, keep in mind offensive is called red path in cybersecurity and defensive is called blue path. So red or blue, red for offense, blue for defense. If you're looking at this video and you're thinking, should I go through the red path or the blue path, you can do both, but at the end of the day you need to have a specialization, right? So if you're considering the red path, if you're someone who like enjoys understanding like the innate things, like the innate mechanisms of how things work, or if you're someone who's very analytical, who can like really think out every scenario or like break down every scenario, or if you like thinking out of the box, you like to try and like compete and like try to break the psyche of someone who designed the defenses. If you're someone who can think more out of the box than other people, then this is probably a very ideal field for you. Now, a lot of people would have heard this penetration tester. I mean, it is the de facto role in offensive security. So what exactly is a penetration tester? It is an individual who is legally employed by an organization to find vulnerabilities in the products or the services they are offering. So more than like understanding of the organization and what exactly they're doing, it also requires a lot of understanding of web application security, network security, and then using programming languages to write various scripts, automate a few attacks, whatnot. The thing is with penetration testing, you have to think like a person who designed the product or designed the service in the organization, and then you have to find out what loopholes are they likely to make, what loopholes or what gaps are they probably going to miss filling, and then you have to try and find a proof of concept, like exploit that hole and show that we have to patch this or we have to patch that or whatnot. Now more recently, again, cloud security has been gaining popularity because a lot of organizations, if not most software organizations, are moving to things like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, and whatnot. So everything is being done on cloud. A lot of companies are moving away from on-site like servers, on-site software, whatnot. They're moving to everything in cloud because of the backups that are available, the flexibility there is, and the cost reduction as well. So cloud security is the field where like you're doing all these penetration testing or like cyber defense or whatnot on the cloud. Nothing is on premises. You're doing everything remotely. Now, to be doing remotely, you also have to have a good understanding of the stack or the platform like AWS or Azure or GCP or whatnot. Again, it is also possible to have a specialty in one of these topics. However, a broad knowledge is the best way to start out. Even if you specialize in offensive security, even if you go ahead and learn every tool in like say Kali Linux or like Parrot, at the end of the day, if you can't think like someone who's designing the system in the first place, you won't be able to think and analyze what kind of spots they missed or what kind of exploits there are. So it is always good to have a broad knowledge of both fields, and more specifically every single specialization in that. Thereafter you can pick one yourself and then you can go through it. So yeah, to help us build this broad knowledge set, we normally have a beginner pathway. By we, I refer to TryHackMe. This is exactly what we're doing right now, this beginner pathway. We are going to be covering all of these areas in this pathway very lightly. Thereafter, we'll go through specific rooms, specific paths, which will go into more detailed stuff. So, yeah, what is the name of the task for this thing to prove that we've read? Is that what is the name of the career role that is legally employed to find vulnerabilities and applications? It is this penetration tester. So, let's go ahead and fill this. There we go. And this is done. Now we go to the blue side. Again, the blue shield. This is the second major area within security. Basically, neither of them are more important than each other. They're both equally important. So, in offensive security, which is where the red team, where you're attacking, you're actively trying to find holes and find misconfigurations, find errors, so that you can make use of them and open up the network. In defensive security, you have to just basically do the opposite. You're trying to patch every single hole there is, every single vulnerability, every single misconfiguration. You're trying to make it like a rock solid wall without any holes, without any gaps from which people can enter. So, defensive security, I think it comes down to being able to think like an attacker as well. If you can outthink the attacker in the sense of like what are they going to look for more often, or what is more important for them, if they attack us, what exactly are the things they'll be able to steal or make use of. And if you can think like them and then reproduce or reverse engineer from there and design your network in such a way that wherever they're looking it is blocked, then you're going to be very successful in defensive security. Now, of course, hands down, this requires a lot of analytical skills because you're going to have to think like an attacker, and also you have to be enjoying problem solving a lot. Uh, Now, of course, the most de facto role in blue side is the security analyst. Like the name suggests, you're analyzing all the security postures of a company. This is an individual in an organization whose job is to monitor various systems and detect whether any of these are being attacked. Now, you could be reactive, which is when someone is attacking, you can try and stop them and defend, or you could be proactive, in that you can already like make a rock solid network or a robust, platform where there is no attack that is going to happen in the first place. Ideally, if you're a security analyst, you should be proactive, not reactive. So, yeah, we need to understand how the underlying technologies of the organization work, and then understand like how can people attack these technologies, what are the normal attacks or what are the normal procedures, and then we'll have to be able to create defenses to detect or even stop these attacks in the first place. So while a security analyst deals with like detecting attacks, an incident responder, this is another very common role in blue team, is usually brought in once an attack has already occurred. This is when the company is being reactive instead of proactive. They are reacting to attacks. They're not being proactive and patching in the first place. So, an incident responder, like the name suggests, they respond to incidents, they respond to attacks. When an attack has happened or it is happening, this person steps in. What they actually do is they look at like what is happening to the network, or where are the like problems, or where is the attack coming from, and then they decide what is the next steps the organization should take, or what is the impact that the attack has already done to the organization. They also suggest better procedures or better like safety postures to avoid this in the future. So yeah, of course, incident responder also should understand everything about the organization's platforms. They need to understand how the underlying technologies work and like what are the potential attacks and whatnot. And also they should be able to analyze evidence left by an attacker. If you know that an attack is happening, that is because you have some sort of an evidence or like some sort of a data. So basically what you have to do is, if you're an incident responder, you should be able to look at these data or look at these attack signs and then analyze what exactly is an attacker doing, what is he looking for, or what is he trying to do. Is he trying to set up a backdoor in the network, or is he trying to look for something very specific? So this way you'll be also able to prioritize where your security efforts will go, where the company's security efforts will go, and better improve your safety posture. Now in reality, no, neither, neither the attacking side or the defensive side can be perfect. If you're a penetration tester, you can you can almost never find every single hole that exists in a system. If you're a defensive security person, if you're like a security analyst or an incident responder, you can never 100% protect your systems. So there's always room on both sides. It just comes down to who is more willing to do their job perfectly. Now, there is a third role which is common, but it's very, very specialist. It requires a lot of experience, which is malware analysis. So basically, an attacker, if he has to get into a network, he uses an attack, or he uses a weapon, or he uses some sort of a mechanism to get in. So, what a malware analyst does is basically analyze what exactly are the weapons he's using, or what is the attack he's using, what is the nature of the attack, how is it opening up a network, like basically the specifics, all the way down to like the code and the logs and whatnot. So this is someone who has to understand exactly what the malware or like the malicious software is doing, exactly how is it opening up a network, and exactly what we need to do to stop it. So there is a cyber defense pathway which we will cover after learning pathway, the beginner's learning pathway, and thereafter we will move on there. So, to answer the question for defensive security, what is the name of the role whose job is to identify attacks against an organization? So, basically, I think it has to be because, see, an incident responder comes in once an attack has occurred, a malware analyst comes in once an attack has occurred and you're doing a post mortem on it. So, it has to be the security analyst. And there we go. That's the room. Okay. Coming back to complete beginner. Now we go to introductory researching. Hmm. Okay, so this now we are in the introductory researching room. This is basically a room to get you started on how to research for stuff, how to look for stuff, be it on the internet or be it through logs or whatnot. So a very very important skill this is, especially if you're in the field of like OSINT, which is open source intelligence, or if you're someone like an incident responder, or like if you're doing a post-mortem on an attack, or if you're trying to dig some sort of like information in like a penetration testing attack. So you should be able to research exactly what you're looking for. You should be able to find your stuff, be it on the internet or be it on like various sources like papers or books or anything related to the company like data, whatnot. So essentially this is a very important skill, more or less in whichever field you're in cybersecurity. Now there is a walkthrough for this, but we won't be going through that. We will try to authentically solve this room. So yeah, like I was saying, the ability to research effectively is the most important quality for a hacker to have. Now, a hacker isn't necessarily someone who is hacking in. It can also mean someone who is defending as well. It requires a vast knowledge base because if you're supposed to break something, if you're supposed to get into something, you have to know everything that you can about it. Again, at the same time, no one knows everything. It's never 100%. So nobody would know automatically how to solve a problem or automatically how to figure out a solution. Basically, the ability to look for what you want, the ability to like Google what you want, or the ability to like find it in Stack Overflow, find the specific solution for what you want, the ability to do that is very important. And that is basically research in the modern day. So in this room, basically, we'll go over the most important resources available to us, which is more often than not, when it comes down to Linux, it is the Linux man pages or the manual pages, which detailedly explain what each tool does. We will also be looking at the example of a research question, apparently, and some vulnerability searching tools. Basically, okay, we'll discuss this when we get there. Okay, in this task, we'll be doing an example research question. So here, for example, let's say you're doing a capture the flag, or let's say you're trying to find some information about somebody or some company. Like if you're trying to gather it through the internet, that comes as OSINT or finding out or research. So yeah, this in this scenario, let's say we are actually doing a capture the flag or basically a cybersecurity competition. Let's say we're doing it. Let's say you have a JPEG file from a remote server. Now, the thing is, with JPEG files or any file for that matter, you can hide data in it. Like, not visually, like, not like on the image you scribble or whatnot. You can actually hide data or hide information or hide messages in the code or in the bytes of the data, in the hex of the data, in the hex of the images or in the pixels of the image. You can hide data. And this is basically very important. This is a very important skill to have. So let's say you have a JPEG file from a remote server in a CTF, and you think there is some sort of clue in it. You think there is something hidden inside it. So how do you get it out? Now, the first most basic question, the most basic approach we would do is we find out how people hide things in images. So you would Google hiding things inside images. And if you search, like for example, it is here, you scroll down and you can see steganography, how to hide secret data inside an image or dot dot dot. So already we can piece together one thing. This specific action, like hiding things inside other things, is called steganography. Steganography itself is a very important field in most CTFs, in most competitions. So yeah, so we can click that link and then we read. We click whatever link comes first on Google, whatnot. That is more often than not usually the approach that we take. And then we click the link and we read the document, and then we find out that okay, steganography exists and this is how we can hide stuff inside images. So essentially what we already have is an image. We are trying to reverse it. We're trying to reverse this process. We are trying to find the opposite of steganography, which is we're trying to extract image. We're trying to extract data from the image. And then obviously the moment you Google it, you can easily see that there are a list of useful tools, a list of useful resources. There are multiple tools that are available on GitHub. A lot of people have made different tools for steganography. Some of them address like JPEG files, some of them skim through metadata, some of them skim through PNG or BMP files only, whatnot. So we basically open, or more often than not we open the first link usually. uh, Basically everything, like you see here, everything like files and images, there is a separate GitHub tool called steg extract. And then someone has written an article about steganography in Kali Linux. And then someone has made like a click article to find out the best tools to perform. So basically all of these more or less are useful, because we didn't even know at the beginning that you could hide things inside images, and already we're finding tools on how to reverse it. So yeah, normally let's, like as we do with all Google searches, we normally go to the first link that is pointing to our result. So once we go there, we automatically see that every image has useful tools, every image has different things, and we go in there and we open it and we see that in the list there is something called steg hide. Now we're trying to extract data out of a JPEG file. Actually, let's just visit this link ourselves. Yeah, let's take a look here. Now there is steganography, a list of useful tools and resources and whatnot. And the first article here, uh, right here, look, steg hide. Now, StegHide is a steganography program that hides data in various kinds of image and audio files, and it supports these file formats: JPEG, BMP, WAV, and AU. We need a JPEG, we have it here. But it's also useful for extracting embedded and encrypted data from other files. Nice. This is also what we wanted. We needed to extract encrypted data from a JPEG file. We can install it with apt, however, the source is available on GitHub. Now, apt or apt, as other people call it, is the package manager for a lot of the Linux Debian based distributions. Now, basically, getting into all of that would be too complicated, but basically, it's like an installer. Like, in how Windows there is an installer wizard, similar. So, we can install it with apt, like immediately we can just open a Linux machine and type apt get install steghide. It'll automatically find steghide for us and install it for us. Now, there are, again, this is like the most often than not the two used commands. First is steghide info file. First of all, it checks whether the file has any embedded data or not. And then if it says yes, then we go to this steghide extract. We can set the flags depending on what we want, and we specify the file name, and it extracts the embedded data from the file. So yeah. Uh, Again, look here. If we went ahead and Googled what exactly is apt, we get the first result, apt. The apt command is a powerful command line tool which works with Ubuntu's advanced packaging tool. It performs functions like installation of new software packages, upgrade of existing software packages, whatnot. So, how do we install packages using apt? We Google that as well. And look, we see the command sudo apt get. Now, sudo is just a Linux command saying that we're using admin rights equivalent to Windows. Apt get is saying that from the app, from apt we're getting something and we're going to install that, and we type in the package name. In this case, it is steghide. We are trying to install steghide. So if we went to like a Linux distribution and type this sudo apt get install steghide, once we press enter, all of these things will happen and automatically everything gets installed. Now we switch back to the collection of steganography tools. And did you notice that there were instructions on how to use steghide right there? We did these two instructions, and we can see steghide extract SF file. And so we know how to extract an image from our file. Our research is paid off, and now we can go to complete the task. So yeah, at the start we didn't even know that we could hide data inside a JPEG image. But now, like, just by googling from one thing to another, we know exactly what tools are used, how to install those tools, and how to which commands we have to type to basically get data out of a file. So being able to research or being able to look in the right place is a very important skill to have. uh, a very important front of research basically, and that is basically what we're going to be doing now. So let's do this in action. Notice the methodology here. We started with nothing, but we gradually built up a picture of what we needed to do, and so on and so on. Now it's your turn. See if you can answer the following questions using your research skills. The first three questions to have appropriate search inquiries in the hints. So basically, each question has a different hint. I'll just show you what a hint looks like. So it basically prompts us exactly what we can search for in Google. So to get this correct answer. So yeah, take a few seconds here. Uh, if you're watching a word of this, pause the video and like try to solve these answers by yourself. They should be pretty easy. And just to make sure that you're getting the right answer, there are exact number of stars pointing to the exact correct like answer, the length of the exact answer. So yeah, this should be useful. And let's begin. Uh, the first question being, in the burp suite program that ships with Kali Linux, what mode would you use to manually send a request? So basically, here the more important things are, the program we're looking for is burp suite. We're looking for a specific command in burp suite or a specific mode in burp suite. And what is this mode doing? It is manually sending a request, and which is basically often repeating a captured request numerous times. So although this is also a specific thing, it is not important to our question. It's just saying that burp suite comes with Kali Linux. It is not exactly completely different. It's just saying that is the medium. So yeah, let's look this up. Now if you go to google.com and we look up basically burp suite, we're looking for a specific mode, and we're looking for the mode that helps you manually send a request. And immediately the first link that we see here, using burp repeater. To use burp repeater with HTTP messages, you can select an HTTP message anywhere in burp and choose send to repeater. So basically, in burp suite, the mode is called repeater. So let's just check. There we go. And also it is also one more good thing to bring up. Whenever you're searching for something, don't just stop by reading the link. You also make it a point to read these, and also make sure if you're going to any website, try and keep it preferred to HTTPS. Don't go to any websites that are in HTTP only. It is not recommended anymore. It is not secure basically. So let's just close these earlier tabs here. All right, next question. What hash format are modern Windows login passwords stored in? Now, this also again we'll have to look this up. We're looking for the hash format for login passwords in modern Windows. Let's say Windows 10 maybe. So we go to Google and then hash format uh, of login password in Windows. Yep. Hmm. Introduction to hashing and how to retrieve Windows 10 hashes. We are looking for an answer that is 4 letters long. So let's find some keyword that is 4 letters long. Here immediately we can see something that says SHA2, but it is 5 letters, including the hyphen, of course. It is more a popular hashing algorithm, but it's not exactly what Windows is using. Look. Now, Windows hashing basics. Windows usually uses LM hash. I mean, at least in its earlier versions. It's an old and weak Windows technique for creating hashed passwords. It has been disabled by default in current Windows environments. We're looking for something that's more current. So let's scroll down. NT hash or NTLM hash. New technology LAN manager hash is the new and more secure way of hashing passwords used by current Windows operating systems, which is modern. This is basically what we're looking for. NTLM, new technology LM. Let's check if that is right. There we go. Now, next question. What are automated tasks called in Linux? Now, of course, this is very easy. We could always like Google the exact question. We can like copy paste the exact question. But that is more or less always going to point to a TryHackMe link because a lot of people will be doing the same thing. We are going to try and research this authentically. We'll not go through any walkthroughs. So yeah, we're looking for automated tasks in Linux. Automated tasks, Linux name. Again, how to automate tasks in Linux using cron tab. Now these are called snippets in Google. These are called knowledge snippets. If there is a link that is frequently visited or if it's a search that is frequently done, Google automatically provides the link that most people are visiting, or most people are finding helpful, and it puts up here. We normally see this with a lot of things, like whenever you Google questions for a test. So yeah, this is basically the logic behind it. If a lot of people are Googling it, and if a lot of people are visiting the same link and finding their answer there, Google automatically features that link and features the exact section where they're finding the answer. So our answer is here, cron jobs. Now we find out if that's correct. And it is. Just for reference, let's also take a look at the hint. Search for automated tasks Linux. Yep, that's exactly what we did. We added the name over there because we were looking for the specific name. Now look, some people are Googling for the exact hint as well. Search for automated tasks Linux. Now these copy pasting things right now they'd be helpful, but basically copy pasting is going to get you nowhere because you're not able to think exactly what you want. You can't always copy paste, you can't always like type in the exact thing when you're looking up something. So yeah. Next question, what number base could you use as a shorthand for base 2? Binary. So we are looking for a number base that is shorthand for binary. So binary shorthand number base. Binary is base 2 and uses just 0 and 1. Okay. So we're looking for an answer that is with 4 letters and 2. Okay. Look, here we can see hexadecimal, which is base 16, but this is really just used as shorthand for binary, which is base 2. And the answer we're looking for is right here, base 16. So let's see if that works out. There you go. Now, this is also this is, I think, this one is going to be a little hard. If a password hash starts with $6, what format is it? In Unix. In Unix. So basically, again, we Google it as Unix hash $6. Now, the $6 value indicates a type 6 password hash. But we are looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 character answer. Now, okay, there is a Quora link, but this is someone who is Googling the exact question. Hmm. Open.com.au. Let's take a look at this. Okay. So it's basically Linux SHA-256 and SHA-512 crypt. Now, passwords starting with this or this are interpreted as hashed with Linux 250, SHA-256 or SHA-512 respectively. Now, the script word is important, I think. Maybe this could be the answer like this, SHA-512 crypt. Let's try that. SHA-512 crypt. Yep, there we go. So that is task 2, which was an example question, example research question. Now let's move on. Let me zoom out and to normal resolution. Okay, task 3, vulnerability searching. Now, yeah, this is also a very important section. Now, in like normally when you're in like doing, like if you're doing like a CTF, let's say, or if you're in defense or if you're on offense or whatnot, the holes that we keep talking about that attackers are trying to use and defenders are trying to patch aren't exactly like, you know, open or unsecured inherently. Basically, there is some sort of a vulnerability or there is some sort of a problem in a specific version uh, that is discovered and it gets published, and everybody who can find that version usually tries to attack it. Now, one of the more recent popular examples, I think, it was with Windows. I think the most popular example would be the WannaCry malware, actually. Now, WannaCry malware, it based itself on an attack called the Eternal Blue. Now, it was a vulnerability in all the Windows machines, and literally the vulnerability, the day it was discovered, this WannaCry's first version was written. And the moment it started infecting everybody, that is when people got to know that there is such a problem in their PCs. Such a thing is called the 0 day exploit, which is basically until the attack hits you, you don't know that there was a problem. And the moment it hits you, you just have to do damage control. There is no other choice. So, normally, then that also begs the question, if somebody finds a vulnerability in something, like let's say if someone finds a vulnerability in JavaScript or in a specific web browser or something like that, how would they go about like publishing it without like hackers knowing about it? Or even if they do, more normal people would know about it than the hackers. How would you go about publishing something officially? Or like, is there some sort of like a database where you can keep track of all the exploits that are discovered, and what versions is that affecting of a specific software, and what are the things you can do to defend it, or what is the common attacks that people use it, sort of like an index, like, where you're indexing every single result, every single knowledge you have about it. That is exactly the answer to that question lies in these websites: ExploitDB, NVD, and CVE Mitre. Now, CVE is nothing but common vulnerabilities and exposures. Basically, everything, every hole that you see. Basically, it keeps track, this NVD National Vulnerability Database, national because it is in US. Um, it keeps track of all the CVEs, all the exploits, basically all the holes, even if it does not have like an attack, or even if nobody's using an attack on it, it just keeps track of it, so that like people are aware that okay, so there is this possible security hole that can be exploited. So it is a really good place to look if you're looking for vulnerabilities or looking for holes in a specific software. Now, CVEs have a naming convention. That naming convention is CVE, like CVE dash, that indicates that it's a CVE code. Year, the year in which it was discovered, let's say CVE 2021, and the ID number. Each exploit in a specific year, it is assigned an ID number. So, like, you can specifically refer to something in a specific year with a specific ID number, and you go to the exact same thing that you're looking for. Now, exploit DB is basically taking it one step further. What NVD is doing is it's just keeping track of all the holes. What exploit DB is doing is it basically, like, let's say if there is a specific weakness, or if there's a specific CVE that people are looking to attack, exploit DB basically publishes all known attacks for it. Like, already, like, people who are using different scripts or using different programs to attack it, it publishes the exact script or the exact code or the exact program that is required to attack that hole. Now, this is useful. Obviously, exploit DB is not meant for like hackers to do it for malicious purposes. Normally, if an exploit is getting published in exploit DB, by that time it has already been tested and it has long been informed, and a lot of people have already patched it. Patched like the CV that is respective to it. Exploit DB, basically, it is useful if you're like in a CTF or a pen test, basically where there is a specific version running which has holes, and it is there and it is meant for you to fix. Then you can go to exploit DB and then you can download the exploit and do it and see exactly what is the damage being done, whatnot. Now, in Linux distributions, more or less Kali Linux, it also comes in with a tool called searchsploit, which is just nothing but the command line version of looking up exploit DB. Exploit DB has a website, but searchsploit, oh, I can't pronounce it right. Searchsploit, basically, it allows us to look up exploit DB from the command line itself. You can also take it offline. You can also download a copy of the database, which has all the exploits for every single CV that is indexed on exploit.db. And it is also very useful where like there is no public internet connection in like a CTF. Now, okay, they gave an example here. Let's go through it. Say we're playing a CTF and we come across a website. Now, this website is for Fuel CMS, obviously, as we can see. Normally, if you see a website that is declaring its name and version like this, it means that it is a default installation. It is just installed, just freshly installed. There's nothing running over it. So, of course, the moment you see this on a web page, you immediately know this is Fuel CMS, this is version 1.4, and that there is a htaccess file located somewhere in the database of the Fuel CMS. Now, usually, like, no, this page is like this page for like Fuel CMS or like Apache or whatnot. It is very obfuscated, and the moment you install something, it immediately gets hidden. So it isn't this obvious always, but yeah, it can be obvious sometimes. For example, my college's basically my university's login portal. If you do a little bit of digging, if you do a little bit of like brute forcing all the combinations for the URL, you actually end up with the page for this. It's not Fuel CMS, it's Apache Tomcat specifically, and yeah, you exactly find out what version there is. Sort of this default page is available there. So obviously, I've reported it to the university. That is basically what you're supposed to be doing. If you find a problem or if you find a hole, you either help them patch it or you at least inform them and tell them that you need to get this patched somehow. So yeah, but usually speaking, it won't be this obvious because there's something or the other running over it. Now we know it's Fuel CMS, we know specifically it's version 1.4. If we go to exploit DB, if you're using the command line version, which was search exploit, you would search exploit Fuel CMS, and it will give a list of all the problems that are there in Fuel CMS. For example, we have version 1.4 in the image. All the way until 1.4.1 version, there was a problem of remote code execution. Now, this is an exploit. This is a program that is already written. Look at this, exploits Linux web apps 47138.py. Now, this Python code, if you run this, you can automatically exploit this fail CMS. That's the thing with exploit DB. It already has exploits written. If you go to the website of exploit database, this is how it looks. You get to fill in the title. If you have a specific CV code you're looking for, you can fill this here. If you have a specific content that you're looking for, you can fill it there. There's specific types you can look for, or exploits from specific authors, or exploits for specific platforms, or port numbers, or tags, or whatnot. And there are also options to check if the exploit has been verified by people at exploit DB saying that it is working. And also you can check for exploits which have an app from which you can like just do a front end. You don't have to type all the code in, you just can like click a few buttons and get done with it. And also there's also a checkbox for no metasploit. Now this is something that we'll come at later, and we can discuss that later. So yeah, if we look up Fuel CMS, we see that the first list again, Fuel CMS 1.4.1, remote code execution. Yeah, so there is an exploit for this. Obviously we can just press the download button here, D, and once we download it, we have the exploit on us and we can just run it against the website. Normally we wouldn't, unless it's like a CTF or a pen test, we wouldn't exactly run the exploits because immediately the person on the other side will know. No matter how old of a website it is, more often than not, most hosts, like the hosting service or like the domain service or whatnot, if it's on the public internet, that site, and you're trying to exploit it, they have some sort of like a mechanism or an alert system that is in place that will immediately detect that an attack is being made. So don't go around attacking websites with like old versions. Don't go around attacking them because immediately, more or less, they'll be able to fingerprint it exactly to you. They can track it back all the way to you. So it is not a good idea to be doing that. Now, yeah, if we open that Fuel CMS 1.4.1 in exploit DB, this is how it would look. EDB ID is exploit database ID. Exploit database has a specific ID for each exploit. The CVE Again, the index of NVD that we saw earlier, basically exactly which hole that is being exploited. EDP verified. Did exploit DB verify this? No. As of this screenshot time. The author's name 0xd0ff9. The type, it's a web app. Fuel CMS is a web app, so it comes under the web apps category. Platform is for Linux. Fuel CMS is deployed over a Linux base, so that's why it says platform Linux. You can download an instance of the vulnerable app itself. So basically, it will download Fuel CMS 1.4.1 copy so that you can test the exploit by yourself. And there is an exploit download button as well. If you just want the code to be shown in your browser, it automatically shows code if you click on this, and then you can type it or you can rejig it however you want. Yeah, that is also an option. So yeah, now I think we'll have to do a few looking up of our own as well. um okay, before we start these, firstly, NVD, this is the link, nvd.nist.gov. You go there and then you can go to vuln search, and you'll have like this search vulnerability database. And here, like normally basic, you can search where you can just type the keyword and you can look for a specific match or whatnot. But if you want to search for like advanced stuff, then here you have keyword search, then you can have the specific CVE codes, or you can have CWE categories. Basically, what exactly is the category of the problem? Is it improper input validation, or is it misconfiguration, or is it path traversal, or is it a shortcut, Windows shortcut problem? There's a lot of things. So yeah. uh, and then we can look for category. Now again, in category also there's a lot of things. You can specify like the vendor here, you can specify the product here, you can even look for published date ranges to see in which days stuff been published. For example, let's take a look here. If we say published date, let's see if there are any exploits published in the last month of this so and so. Let's just take a look at it. And look, within the last month, these many exploits, there are 10, more than 10 pages of stuff that have been published. Now take a look. CV 2021-33669. Using certain conditions, SAP Mobile SDK certificate provider allows a local unprivileged attacker to exploit an insecure temp file storage. Like this, it is very detailed. It has a summary, but you can click on it and go into details as well. With specific versions, SAP 3D Visual Enterprise Viewer, or SAP NetWeaver. There's just so much detail there is. Let's go to a more backward page, because a lot of these things are SAP. Now, this website is actually pretty slow sometimes, at least for me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. Okay. And here we are. Yeah. Wembu BDR suit has a few attacks. GitLab has a few attacks. A denial of service vulnerability in GitLab, whatnot. There's a ton of things actually. Uh, There are 2027 matching records, and we're in 141. Yeah, looking up all of this is going to be a big headache. So might as well just go back to the search page and get on with our tasks. Okay, the first question. What is the CVE for the 2020 cross-site scripting, which is XSS vulnerability found in WP forms? Now, we know the CVE year here. It's 2020. We know what kind of an attack it is, cross-site scripting. We know the platform, WP forms. Now, if you were to search that, it would basically be, we're looking for WP forms. We're looking for, actually, wait, let me just reset it first, and then let's keep it in basic for the time being. We are searching for WP forms. Let's search that first. There is only one exploit, fortunately, here. Normally, there would be tons of exploits. over like different versions, older versions, whatnot. We're looking for something in the year 2020. Here we go, 2020 year. It has a specific code 10385. A stored cross-site scripting vulnerability exists in the WP form's contact form. This is exactly what we're looking for, XSS. Now the version it affects is before 1.5.9. Now also you look at this, there is a scoring metric on NVD, on National Vulnerability Database. They have a score which is out of a 10. Now 3.5 out of 10 is low. It means that it doesn't impact too much, in the sense that basically the score is basically saying how severe the attack is, or how much bad it can do overall. So here it is pretty like normal. 3.5, 5.4 is also pretty average. Like there are exploits with 9.8 and 10 ratings as well. Those things are like you have to patch them immediately. So those kind of exploits also exist. There were a few published recently. I think we'll come across them in other rooms. But yeah, our question was asking for what is the CVE, the complete CVE code. It is this CVE 2020 10385. And if we paste that there we go. Now, next question. There was a local privilege escalation LPE Debian version of Apache Tomcat, and they gave us a year 2016. So we go back into the search page again. This time we are looking for Apache Tomcat 2016. All right. So let's type Tomcat. Uh, let's actually go for advanced here. Vendor. Hmm. Now the thing is, when you type, sometimes like specific companies have their own vendor names indexed here, like Apache, and then you can look for. You guys can't see the drop down, but there is a drop down here. You can look for specific Tomcat, and then you can also find the versions, but I don't think that's more important right now. The problem we're looking for is local privilege escalation. So, and it also said the Debian version. So let me search for, instead of keyword, instead of Tomcat, let's search for Debian, because Tomcat we've already mentioned here. I think this should be enough. Let's search. Okay, so it does take a little bit of time to index and look up everything. I mean, in the last month alone, there were 2000, what, 2081 indexes? Okay, here we are. Now, there are one or three matching records. We're looking for stuff that is in 2016. Let's go to 2016. I'm presuming we'll have to go all the way back. Like, look here, there are a few exploits with 7.5 rating, 7.0, 9.8 critical. This is very, very severe, whatnot. I'm thinking maybe page 3 should be good enough. Oh, damn, this takes a lot of time, dude. Okay, we are in 2016, we are in the thick of it. But even with the word Debian, there are a lot of things here. There are a lot of stuff that are found in 2016. But what are we looking for? We're looking for local privilege escalation. So, firstly, let me find if in this page, privilege. Okay, so the privilege word is mentioned 5 times. Ah, actually, we can take a look here. So, Debian Jesse, of course, might allow local users with access to the Tomcat account to gain root privileges via a setgit program. And there is local users with access to the Tomcat account to obtain sensitive information or gain root privileges via symlink attack. Again, local users with access to the Tomcat account to gain root privileges via symlink attack. Hmm. So we have three CVs that can possibly match. Hmm. Okay. So out of these three CVEs, we're looking for something that is more specifically found in the Debian version. Hmm. Let's actually go with something that has more severity rating, because this is also 7.8, 7.2, 7.8, 7.2, 7.8, 7.2. Let's actually go with the one that has the most earliest publication. Thereafter, if it's not that, we'll see. Is it this one? There we go. The first one found, more often than not, is the answer, because these attacks are also a result of this being found. Now, what is the very first CVE found in the VLC media player? This is easy. Now you can go back to the same search page. This is where this is the route you can take to go back as well. So yeah, the very first CV found in the VLC media player. So we just search VLC all time, no specific, no nothing. We just search, let it index and return all the results that are required, and then we just sort by the oldest found. Like, there is a sort option. Just press that, it will find us the oldest one. We just have to find out the CV code. We don't have to be concerned about what exactly is it. 132 matching records. We'll go to publish date ascending and we'll sort. The very first exploit found in 2007. And if we were to copy this code and paste it here, there we go. If you wanted to exploit a 2020 buffer overflow in the sudo program, which CV would you use? So again, this is also very self-explanatory. You could just go all the way back here. We are looking for sudo program. We're looking for something in 2020 and buffer overflow. We can do the advanced search, but I just want to just, for just curiosity, just see what all are the exploits available on sudo in first place. Hmm. 2020, 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021. There are so many exploits. What are we looking for? Buffer overflow. Okay. Now, in hindsight, this was a bad idea. I think I should have gone for the advanced search. Actually, let's just press refine search here. Advanced sudo. We're looking for a buffer overflow. Hmm. There are two types actually, buffer overflow. There's a stack based buffer overflow, then there is a heap based buffer overflow. So I'm just gonna not do that. Instead, I'm just gonna add buffer flow keywords as well. Buffer overflow, sorry. Hmm. If you wanted to exploit a 2020 buffer overflow, you would use the most recent exploit available. It was published in January 29, 2020. So we would use CV 2019-18634. Now, if we submitted that, that is correct. And there we go. That ends the task of vulnerability searching. Now, let's take a quick break and we'll come back into man pages and we'll do the final thoughts. Okay. And let's go back to what we were doing. Now, the next task is man pages or manual pages. Now, every Linux distribution comes in with an inbuilt, let's say, like a database or like documentation for each and every tool there is. Each tool has its own documentation, and each documentation set, like for example, take a look here. Like this is the documentation for SSH. Now it states the name, it states the synopsis of basically what all SSH can do. And for each of these flags or each of the things that it can do, there's a specific description. So what does a certain flag like -4 or -6 or -a do? What exactly does it do? How exactly do you use it? And what is the syntax of typing these? So yeah, we are going to be using this. I think we are going to be looking up a lot of man pages. Now the thing is, most man pages are also available online. You can just Google Linux, or you can Google for a specific version, Debian man pages. There you go. It is completely indexed, manpages.debian.org. So yeah, you can look for a specific Linux distributions man pages, or you can just search Linux man pages and you'll get a indexed version of everything. So yeah. Hmm. Normally, if there is a tool, we immediately look it up in the man page first up. Of course, this whole write up is an explanation of how you use SSH man pages. How do you decipher from it? But I think that is out of scope of discussion for the time being. Let's actually start doing this. So, SCP is a tool used to copy files from one computer to another. What switch would you use to copy an entire directory? So, SCP is the tool we're looking for. We are searching for SCP. There you go. Secure copy is the full name. Now, there are synopses. We're looking for some switch that would allow us to copy an entire directory. Now, an entire directory by a switch, basically, you mean these the dash C, the dash F. These are called switches of flags. These you had to make the program perform a specific way. So, we are looking for something that copies the entire directory. It's not C, it's not F, it's not I. It's not limit, SSH option. There are specific options. Port, quiet mode. Yep. Dash R. Recursively copy entire directories. This is exactly what we're looking for. So is it dash R? There you go. Normally, if you were to do this in Linux, you could just open a terminal and type man scp, and you will get this exact thing, this exact write up with the name, synopsis, description, just like in a Linux looking, like in your terminal itself, like this. And there you can scroll down and there you can find. But for the time being, instead of spawning a machine, let's just do it from the web. Fdisk is a command used to view and alter the partitioning scheme used on your hard drive. Now, there are multiple partitioning schemes like MBR and GPT and whatnot. We are looking for a specific switch we would use to list the current partitions. Now, basically, we have to go to fdisk's man page. So let's type in here fdisk. Yep, fdisk. Manipulate disk partition table. This is the same tool that we were referring to. Again, just for reference, we're looking for something to list all the partitions. So, again, by just taking a look quickly at options here, we can see that dash L, or the expanded version of it, double dash list, it lists the partition tables. So, dash L, and that is correct. Now we're looking for Nano. Nano is an easy to use text editor for Linux. It is basically inbuilt. What switch would you use to make a backup when opening a file with Nano? So basically, we're looking for a switch that has the word backup related to it. So again, we go back and we type nano, and yep, we are looking for backup, the word backup, which is right here. When saving a file, backup the previous version of it using the current file name suffixed with a tilde. So yeah, dash capital B is what we were looking for. There we go. Now, next one, Netcat is a basic tool used to manually send and receive network requests. Netcat is the tool. What is the command we want to start Netcat in listen mode using port 12345? So this time we're not looking for a flag, we're looking for the entire command. So basically, we have to study the man page and understand how to use Netcat. So let's search for Netcat. Yeah, Netcat, again, immediately at the name, it is made clear that you don't call it Netcat, you type it as NC. Now, again, let's look at the synopsis this time. NC, it has an option. Basically, at the start itself, you mention the flag which you're using, the switch which you're using, basically, and then the destination IP address and the destination port. Now, what are we looking for? We have to start Netcat in listen mode, firstly. So obviously we're going to start with NC. Let's have that filled out. Just take a look here. 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, and then 5 stars. So basically, we are looking for NC. Obviously, is the first 2 stars. We're looking for two flags. One of the flags will start it in listen mode, and the other flag will specify the port number, and then 12345 at the end. This right here. So that is, I think, basically the idea behind this. So let's do this. Obviously, we start with NC netcat. Now we're looking for the flag for listen mode. Normally, listen, like these keywords, usually the first letter is what we're going to be looking for. Listen mode L. So dash L right here. Listen for an incoming connection rather than initiating a connection to a remote host. So basically, listen mode. So I think that it is pretty clear. Let's just type in dash L and see how it goes. I'm just trying to skim if there's something else that we've missed out. Yeah. There's actually a client server model here. Start NC listening on a specific port for a connection. For example, NC-L1234. So yes, we are clear that NC is the first letter and dash L is the flag for listen mode. And now we want to specify the port number. Obviously, like this command says, we can actually just type in the port number directly, but it is usually considered more syntactical to use the correct port like flag for it. Now port again starts with a P. There are two flags for P: proxy username and source port. We're looking for something that is more related to the port. Specify the source port NC should use. So we do dash P. The port number we were given was 12345, and we submit. And that's it. If you take a look at the hint, you will need two switches here. Read the manual page to find the shortcut for netcat as well as the two switches you need. So yeah, that is exactly what we did. That is exactly our logical deduction behind it. And these are the final thoughts. You can feel free to pause the video or the word to take a look at this. But more or less, yeah, these are the introductory skills that you need. Like normally, we learned how to, you know, look up on Google. We learned how to look up on NVD and exploit database, and then we learned how to look up on man pages. These three should like get us started really easily. And so yeah, and with that, we are done with the introductory researching room. If we were to go back to the path, we are done with the complete beginner introduction, all the three tasks in it. Tomorrow, or basically whenever the stream goes on next, we are going to be doing Linux fundamentals. Now there are three; these three I have not touched so far, so I'm going to be learning on the stream. Uh, so yeah, that was the beginning of the complete beginner path. This is the beginning stream of the complete beginner path. and we did the complete beginner introduction in the beginner stream of the complete beginner path. There's that for you. So that's it, and I think that's it for the stream. Uh, yeah, I don't. I never know how to end these things, man. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys later. I guess catch you guys whenever the next stream is. I think once if this thing starts taking off, if there's like more people coming in as well, thereafter I can like probably introduce sections like, or like, create breaks, or we could solve, or we could compete in challenges together on stream, whatnot. So yeah, that's it, and I think that's the end of the stream. So I will see you guys later. Stay home, stay safe, and remember to check me out on YouTube. If you like this ward, uh, make sure to follow so that you can come in and join me on the next stream. You'll be able to interact. I'll also be active in the chat as well. We can all solve problems together. You can learn together. Or if you're someone who doesn't have a TryHackMe subscription by yourself, you can probably just follow along until you can like get your own subscription. Probably, I mean, at least this way you'll be able to cover the same topics that are there in premium as well. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, and see you all later.